everyone, it's Elaine here from Lily Pants. So first of all, I found myself really tied between a lot of things over the last 2 weeks. I found that, if it wasn't running between meetings, it was promoting my products or just raising brand awareness in general and education. I found that in terms of video production, I did lag a little bit behind. So I really wanted to make sure that I got something out there so that you can watch something for this week and learn a little bit more about my business. So in terms of my business, I have to say it's been a year and a half. I found that I had a lot of learning lessons during the year and a half that I've been doing this stuff. And it's funny because a lot of people, when they think about entrepreneurs, they think fast money, fast cars, fast lifestyle. And, I would say that it definitely did not apply to me at all. I mean, I just launched my business around a month ago. So I found that in terms of my stuff, I was more on the slow end of things, if you will. And it's okay, everybody has their style, but there were definitely a lot of learning lessons that I took from it. And in terms of actual business theme, I found that over the last year and a half, I really found myself in a lot of situations where I felt lonely. And it's not necessarily about working long hours into the night. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more of like, well, I'm not very happy with myself. And so it's really important to distinguish between solitude and feeling lonely. Solitude, like I said, it could be something like working by yourself on a project into the late hours of the night, all by yourself, or, even just working at home for 3 days straight. Sometimes it happens. But that might not necessarily translate into loneliness. What I'm talking about in terms of loneliness is you not being happy with yourself. And that's where most of loneliness stems. It's really because your state of mind is not self-loving. It's very self-critical, and you always think, oh, I can do better in this, I can do better in this. This stuff is not good enough, that stuff is not good enough. And these subconscious feelings translate into these feelings of inadequacy. And I felt that for myself, especially getting started in the beginning, I faced a lot of loneliness. Also because I found that it's very difficult to find people who can relate to you as well. So not being able to connect on that level can sometimes exacerbate the thoughts in your head. And it's interesting because I would say loneliness was a really, really tough thing for me to face during my time. And the reason why I said that is because, okay, you're not really talking to many people. And then on top of that, you can't really seem to relate to, or people seem to not be able to really relate to you. And I would say that loneliness, it doesn't necessarily have to be in running a business. You can find it in different forms. Like, social media is a really big thing. Like looking at pictures of your friends going on vacation, or getting married, or being in a new relationship. It could be anything. And then sometimes, you think about it and you're like, oh, how come I don't get those things? How come I don't have those things? And I find that because of that, a lot of people nowadays also feel very lonely as well, because you always think, at least to yourself, that you're not good enough. And part of it is also because you don't have that sounding board. The feeling of loneliness, I can say, it can be applied anywhere in life. And so in terms of loneliness, how do you deal with it? How did I deal with it? I would say that I'm not perfect in dealing with loneliness at all. In fact, if anything, I only started really addressing my mental health state around maybe a month or two ago, when I started doing all the marketing stuff. And the reason why was actually because a good friend of mine who's also she also runs her own business as well. She pretty much told me, like, why don't you just get out there and just start connecting with people? And at first, I mean, like, obviously it sounds very easy, but I thought to myself, okay, well, you know what? Let me try to push myself a little and try to, like, make new friends, make a new circle. And it really helps. So the first thing that I did was I joined a co-working space. So I got in touch with like-minded individuals who are all working either on their own businesses or working on some service or freelance-based things, just to kind of be able to talk to other people and have a sounding board. And I found that really, really helped. And the second thing was really related to that. It was actually joining networking circles. So things like going to an exhibition, an expo where you can meet like other fellow entrepreneurs selling their business and getting some sounding boards, and you know, learning a little bit about how their business works and what they've incorporated into running their shows, running their trade shows. That really helped as well. It's, you know, trying to find the learning in the pain, if that makes sense. And I would say also one of the big things, the third thing that really helped me deal and face my loneliness was really learning how to accept myself. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it works very well. I mean, you know, oftentimes when you're in the weed of things, you always think, okay, what could I do better? Is there something else I could do to make this look better, work better, and just, you know, overall just feel better. But sometimes it's better just to take a step back and say, okay, how do I learn how to accept myself, and how do I love myself? How do I love business? What have I done so far that I'm very proud that I've accomplished? And taking those steps back, it really makes you put things into perspective, because a lot of it is really, oh, well, you know, I realized that I actually went a long way. I didn't realize how far I came until I took a step back and saw from the sky, this is what I've achieved. And sometimes if you're always worried about getting to the next step, getting to the next milestone, you forget to appreciate the things that you actually have. And I found that that was actually where a major source of my loneliness comes from, because I was way too hard on myself, and also because, you know, you realize that, you know, what's the end goal of all of this? What was the end goal of my business? The end goal of my business was really to make life much better for women all across North America, you know, at least have healthier access to period products. And so when you take a step back, you look at all the things that you accomplish, and you look at what your ultimate goal is. What's the big picture in all of this? You realize that actually you're doing some good in the life. And you know, when you're doing good things for the community, I have a firm belief that it will give back to you, and it will show itself to you in a positive way. So that's why I would say self-acceptance is probably one of the most powerful things, because honestly speaking, at the end of the day, a lot of the things that you run in your business, it really boils down to mindset and your attitude. If you have the right attitude, you can go very, very far. And really, it's just about taking it one step at a time. And that's probably my last point, number 4, is, like I say, taking it one step at a time. I would say that this was probably one of the most important pieces and elements of running a business, because sometimes there's just so much going on. You just really have to focus on what needs to be done next. I would say the most impactful lesson from this was actually not from running my business, but through a trip that I had. And I went on this big hiking trip, and it was funny because on the first day we hiked around 12 hours. It was incredibly strenuous. We spent around 3 hours just going up and down mountains, and it was funny because throughout all of this, I could have gotten really upset. I could have gotten really angry, could have been very resentful, but I wasn't, because my focus at that point in time was, okay, let's just take this one step at a time. Can I get to that rock? Can I get to that tree? Can I get to that cow? And I found that because of that, it really, really pushed me to focus on what's important. And sometimes it's not about getting to the top of the mountain right away. It's about taking baby steps there, because if you think about the mountain all the time, you'll think it's an impossible task. But actually, I would say that that mountain top that you're looking for, that you're aiming for, that goal that you have in mind, it's all at the end of the day a series of steps, little baby steps that you can take to get yourself there. So that's all my thoughts are for the topic of loneliness. I hope that it helps some of you. And you know, it's perfectly natural for you to feel lonely in any aspect. Like I say, it could be your personal life, it could be your social life, or even just your career sometimes. And That's perfectly natural, but it's important for us to all recognize that when you are aware of feeling lonely, there are a lot of things that you can do to try to make yourself feel a little bit better. It's just a little push to get you in the right direction, and then you can set out and achieve many things in life. So that's it for me for today. I hope that you learned something new, and until next time, bye!